Food, sorry. Right. Thank you. Thank you. You can be similarly introspecting on the impact of COVID and the wars which are happening now.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Food inflation, madam, similarly, food inflation was a modest 2.2 during 99-2004. 2004 to 9, it reached 6.5. 2009 to 14, it reached 11%. And 14 to 24, it's back to 5.3%. So the pattern is consistent. 25 years, you split it between UPA or non-NDA and NDA, you see inflation is better controlled under NDA regimes. Madam, Honorable Member Manish Tiwari, I can't see him here, but I would like to respond to him, was talking about fuel inflation. I quite appreciate his concern, because this can affect poorer families as well. I want to place the data before. Under UPA 2, the fuel inflation was 8.9% compared to the 10 years between 2014 to 24, which is at 4.4%. But I just want to highlight the fact for Honorable Member Manish Tiwari's question. He talked about the LPG cylinder, and I'm sure this is something which most members will be interested in knowing about. Under the Congress, LPG cylinders were a privileged and scarce commodity. Before April 2014, nearly 45% of the Indian households didn't have access to clean cooking fuel. In contrast, madam, LPG coverage under the NDA has reached near saturation. Total domestic active LPG customers have more than doubled from 14.52 crore in April 2014 to 32.65 crores as of June 2024. Madam, an approximation, I'm not giving an exact number, it is expected, or approximation is, there are 33 crore households in this country, approximate, and 32.65 crore have got LPG cylinder connection. Near saturation in making sure gas cylinders reach every household. So I must credit the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas for having taken this distribution of LPG to households. Since after Ujjwala came in, we have made sure that many of those families which gave up the extra cylinder on Honorable PM's nudge that he gave, saying, please, those who don't need the subsidy, give it up. Many people gave it up. But Ujjwala grew as much as also the others who don't need Ujjwala. So total saturation is 32.65 crores, and from among this number, 10.33 crore Ujjwala beneficiaries also are there. So this 32.65 crores includes Ujjwala 10.33 crores. Ujjwala 14.2 kg LPG cylinders, 14.2 kg, the weight of the cylinder, is given at an effective price of 503 rupees per cylinder. I want to highlight the fact that if we are to compare India with its immediate neighborhood, you'll know that India's LPG cylinders is very reasonably priced for the Ujjwala consumers that I'm talking about. Ma'am, the neighboring countries, as of 1st November 2024, the prices are like this. Nepal, it is 1,209.21 rupees. And I'm saying it in INR, Indian rupees. Sri Lanka, it is 1,211.24 rupees. Pakistan, it is at 1,095.41 rupees. And for Ujjwala customers, it is in India 503 rupees only. And immediate question would be, what about those non-Ujjwala? Because it's an essential thing for a household. Effective price of non-Ujjwala consumers, and I'm talking about New Delhi, is 803 rupees. So I want a clear appreciation of the fact, appreciation not so much for appreciating, but for recognition of the fact that compared to the neighborhood, India's LPG prices, even for non-Ujjwala, is far lesser than what it is like in our neighborhood. Manish Tiwari, member at Country, but that was essentially for this particular question. Madam, there were concerns expressed also about unemployment being very high. Several members raised questions on it, and I highlight some of the facts. The All India annual unemployment rate has been declining according to the periodic labor force survey report. Beginning 2017-18, it's been falling from 6.0% in 17-18 to 3.2% in 23-24. Unemployment rate was 6% in 2017-18. Today it has come down to 3.2%. And this is accompanied by a rise in the labor force participation ratio and worker to population ratio figures as well. A very important factor is the gender component, madam. The female labor force participation rate has been on the rise for the past 6 years, from 24.5% in 2018-19 to 41.7% in 23-24, and we'll be glad to know that this is largely driven by rising participation of rural women into the labor force. So this is a very noteworthy change, transformation that we are seeing. I would like to put it before you, Honorable Chairperson. According to the latest payroll data of the EPFO, cumulative net addition of EPF subscribers, which very clearly shows the formal employment. So cumulative net addition of EPF subscribers touched 91.1 lakh in first half of this year, that is 24-25, which is nearly 29% higher than the cumulative net additions of 70.5 lakhs in the same period last year. So it's an important, and we are clearly talking about the net addition. It's not the numbers who have gone, we've ignored it or anything like that. We are talking about net addition. Nearly 2/3 of the new subscribers in the EPFO payroll have been from the 18 to 28 years band. So for all of us who rightly have concerns about the youth of India, I would like to show this figure that the net addition to the EPF subscriber numbers has 2/3 of them coming from those in the age group of 18 to 28. So the youth of India are coming on board and getting into EPF related registers. Madam, there was also concern and a lot of discussion about the procedure not being followed in sanction of contingency fund advance. I think it was member N.K. Premachandranji who raised this point. I'd like to respond to him because I think he highlighted, I appreciate the fact that N.K. Premachandranji gets into a lot of granular details of the budget and also of the financial rules. Here he quotes, or I quote, he said, the procedure given in para 5 of delegation of financial powers rule regarding laying statement by ministers for giving contingency fund advance is not followed. That was his concern. I'd like to remind member N.K. Premachandranji that the procedural issue which you raised about withdrawals of contingency fund, an advance of 100 crores given to MNRE for the PM Surya Ghar. Am I right? Based on the request of the ministry, contingency fund advances are normally given to various ministries, and in this case, the contingency fund advance of 100 crore was sanctioned on 4th October 2024, at a time when the Parliament was not in session. This amount is being recouped, and that you see in the supplementary demand for grants, through the supplementary demand which we have placed now. So, Ministry of Finance does not normally permit consolidated fund advances when Parliament session is underway. In the instant case that he is referring to, Finance Ministry has not issued the sanction during the Parliament session. I would just like to mention it very clearly for Sri N.K. Premachandran's consideration. If at all withdrawals of CF advance has happened by any ministry, the minister concerned is required by rule to lay a paper in the House. So, and that's the extent procedure. Madam, similarly, I think it was one of the members, if I'm right, Lalji Vermaji, who had mentioned that this supplementary demand for grant is being presented within 1 month of the budget. I'm not sure if Lalji Vermaji is here. This is the first batch of supplementary demand for grants. And even as I opened my statement, I said the regular budget in this election year was presented in July. Now we are into December. We are several months away from July, not one. So that statement, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be correct, Madam. This has been reduced. The supplementary demand for grant, this one being the first one, I would like to definitely place on record that we have kept the supplementary demand for grants. Normally 3 are permitted. We've tried keeping it within 2 and never moving to the 3rd, except for 1 year when the 3rd also had to happen. So supplementary demand for grants are not too many, not too frequent, and doesn't happen for simple, small reasons. So I want to leave the data behind that this is the first one, and the amount, in fact, some of the honorable members, I'm very grateful, mentioned about it, that this time the supplementary demand amount itself is far lesser than last time, showing greater accuracy in the BE stage itself of budget making. So there is a greater absolute targeting of what is the budget estimate got to be, and there is not, therefore, much of a requirement to come with huge supplementary demands, and not too many of them as well. Ma'am, there's been a concern about sustaining growth. I broadly spoke about the growth and growth-related figures earlier. But what are the specific steps that the government has taken to push and to sustain growth was one of the questions. As much as private sector investment slowdown and more investment on infrastructure have all been points on which a lot of members have raised their concerns. I'd like to broadly say that even at the beginning we said there has been considerable emphasis on capital expenditure. Repeated every year, our capital expenditure amounts are only growing, not in just actual numbers, in percentages as well. That this year we allocated 11.11 lakh crores for capital expenditure. Understand that together with the amounts that we've given to the state, this year particularly, we have given 1.50 lakh crores to the states as interest-free 50-year loan for capital assistance. If effective capital expenditure of the union government is taken on board, and what is effective capital expenditure, madam? includes budgeted capital outlay and grants and aid for capital creation. If these two are put together, you get the effective capital expenditure figure. And while 11.11 lakh crores is the capital expenditure announced in the BE, effective capital expenditure inclusive of our capital assistance to the states, interest-free, it is pegged at 15.02 lakh crores, madam. One of the highest in Government of India's history. This is the amount we are giving for capital expenditure, which has given a big role also for the states to build their capital expenditure account. And as a result, I think steps that we're taking to push for growth and to sustain growth are going through this route of capital expenditure so that the multiplier effect, which will spread through the economy and therefore give a greater traction and multiplier effect to the economy itself, will be bigger. Because I think we've spoken about this as well, which I'd like to emphasize again, that for every rupee spent on capital account, the multiplier effect that you get touches even 3.48, sometimes 4.3. That is the kind of multiplier you get when you spend on capital account, whereas if you spend on revenue account, for every 1 rupee, you would get only 0.98, less than 2 paise, less than 100 paise, which is 1 rupee. So that is not going to benefit if we just spent money or put money in the hands of the people, promote immediate consumption so that people can go out in the market and buy the essentials. They are important. But the multiplier that gives is far lesser than the multiplier that you would gain when people are given in-situ jobs because projects are running, capital assets are being built. We have gone through that route, and this time the effective capital expenditure of the Government of India is at 15.02 lakh crores. What are the expenditure on which this amount is getting spent? Regional connectivity, robust highways, railways, coastal shipping, digital infrastructure, and multimodal logistics are areas in which we are spending this money, and also addressing skill deficit through package of 5 schemes which we have announced in this budget itself. And these have given results. So it's not as if I've spent the money, we don't know what is the outcome. The results are there for everyone to see. Increase in gross fixed capital formation to 30.8% of the GDP in 23-24, compared to an average of 28.9% between 2014-15 and 2018-19, pre-pandemic years. So pre-pandemic years, you had 28.9 gross fixed capital formation, whereas now it's gone up to 30.8%. Also, private investment by non-financial firms, about 3,200 firms, an independent research looked into it and said 11.6% is the growth in private investment by non-financial firms. That itself will explain. I'm talking not about the banks, not talking about the NBFCs, but other firms which are in the private sector. An improvement in the ranking of the World Bank Logistics Performance Index from 54th place where we were in 2014 to 38th place in 2023 to 44th place in 2018 and to 22nd place in 2023, particularly under international shipments category. Ma'am, you probably are aware that in every session of the budget, we have questions on tax devolution to opposition-ruled states, and that they have been reduced, particularly for Kerala, Karnataka, and Himachal Pradesh. Shri K.C. Venugopalji asked about it. I'd like to again, like the way I do in every session, again answer this question. Tax devolution to states is based on the formulation and the recommendation given by the Finance Commission. Within first 45 months of the 15th Finance Commission, the current Finance Commission, the tax devolution to these states is more than the total tax devolved to these states in the entire period of the 14th Finance Commission. Entire period of the 14th Finance Commission, 5 full years, and you can take 45 months of the current Finance Commission, which is just about 4 years and about a couple of months, 3 months. I'm going by state, madam. Karnataka during the 14th Finance Commission, which is like between 2014 and 2019, had 1,35,044 crores devolved to it. And within the 45 months of the current Finance Commission, they have received 1,41,937 crores, already much more than the entire five-year period of the previous Finance Commission. Himachal Pradesh received 20,830 crores during the 14th Finance Commission's entire period, whereas what they've received in the first 45 months of the current Finance Commission is 32,087 crores. Kerala, 71,713 crores during the earlier Finance Commission during its entire period, whereas in the 15th Finance Commission, which is the current Finance Commission, and in the first 45 months, 75,171 crores. So, no question, madam, on time, much more is what is being devolved to all states, and there is no difference between which state is ruled by which party. Everybody gets what their due is, and that's the principle with which Prime Minister Modi guides me, and that's what we do. Sir, slow pace of expenditure from the budget 24-25 is another question which N.K. Premchandranji asked. Union budget, the regular one for 24-25 was passed by the newly constituted Loksabha post-parliamentary election in August. And I've already explained that subsequently when the monies went to the state and when states got onto the ground to do their expenditure, almost 2 quarters were delayed. So this situation is broadly similar to all other election year. However, the total expenditure up to October 24 was 24.74 lakh crores. October 24. This is 51.3% of BE, which is broadly similar to pace of expenditure in up to October 2023. So it's not slow since after the second quarter.